One, two, three, four.
Welcome to the High Performance CEO Show, your exclusive insight into the strategies and success habits of the world's top CEOs. I'm your host, Sebastian Schieke, entrepreneur, mentor, and business angel. Prepare to grow your business, enhance your leadership skills, and thrive in today's world. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the High Performance CEO Show. Today it's all about communication, and I have Brenden Kumarasamy here in the show, an amazing coach for public speaker, an amazing communication expert. And Brenden, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be here, Sebastian. Thanks for having me.
You are really pro. We really rock it on Podmatch, the podcast platform we met. And you are an expert in communication. Your goal is to help your customers becoming top 1% of communicators in the industry. It's a very ambitious goal. But let me ask you before we start. I mean, we are all humans. We all make mistakes. We all screw things up. You know, what was your biggest challenge, your biggest struggle on stage?
Yeah, for sure, Sebastian. You know, my whole life was a challenge, to be honest, when it comes to communication and public speaking. And the reason is because for a few ones. Number one, I have a physical disability in my left arm, so it's crooked. Even today when I give presentations in person, that's one. The second one is my second language is French, because I live in Montreal. So I speak three languages, English, French, and Tamil. And because I speak French and I went to French school, my whole life, not only did I struggle with communication, I had to present in a language I didn't even know. So I struggled with communication because of that. Yeah. And on top of that, I got a bachelor's degree in accounting, which is literally the opposite of what I do today. So my whole life was a challenge. But I'll give you one in particular, which was a keynote I had to give probably 3 years ago in front of 300-400 kids. I practiced a month for it, and I realized 15 minutes before the presentation, the director comes up to me and says, "Hey, Brenden, can you do half of it in French?" And I was like, "What?" It's like I didn't practice it in French because I'm not that great at it. And I winged it and figured it out.
Being flexible and resourceful. It's actually interesting when you said your first language is French. And I mean, I grew up in East Germany. Yeah. And in East Germany, especially in the region where I grew up, we had a very strong dialect, you know. So when I moved over to West Germany, people hardly understood me, you know. I mean, they couldn't understand what I was saying. And I mean, I was young. I was 14, 15. And I mean, obviously, I adopted to the dialect, you know, and I sort of changed my language. And then years or decades later, when people ask me where I'm from, and I said, yeah, I'm from East Germany. You know, I grew up in Dresden. And then they say, oh, I don't hear to see your language. And then I always saying, well, and you know, I mean, when I moved over to the West, they put me in an education camp, you know, and they only let me out when I was properly speaking German. So, yeah, communication is a very important topic, especially for executives. I mean, they always have to communicate their message, their mission. They have to speak in front of their team, their customers. They have to go on stage to talk to a wide audience. And a lot of them struggle. I mean, everyone has their own challenge. And especially people who are a bit more introverted, you know, it's very hard for them to go on stage, to overcome this fear. I mean, we humans, you know, I mean, you know that we are sort of having the reflexes, and public speaking is the same. I mean, some people fear this more than death. I mean, how do you talk to those people? How do you help those people who are very afraid of getting up and sharing their message to the audience?
For sure, Sebastian. You know, for me, the advice is always look at everything else you've accomplished in your life. You know, I call this, my coach calls this rather, the impossible log. Right? Write down for a few minutes the 5 accomplishments you're the most proud of in your life. And that could be a bunch of different things. Getting a job, applying for college, getting married, having kids, asking somebody on a date, moving countries. So if I asked you, Sebastian, and all of us really, these goals that we've accomplished in our life, did we accomplish any of these goals with zero fear? And the answer is no. Right? Of course not. Like, moving to another country is scary. Asking somebody on a date is scary. Starting a business is really scary. So now the question becomes, why do human beings do it anyways, even if they're scared? And the answer to that question is the motivation to do it is greater than the fear. Example, my fear of applying for a job or starting a business is high, but the fear of being broke is way higher. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. The fear of being alone, much higher than asking someone on a date, especially when you get older. So yeah, of course, you move forward with it. So now the question becomes in communication, not about removing the fear, but rather, how can we create a motivation that is greater, significantly greater than the fear that is attached to, so it pushes us to share our message. That's the way I've always thought about it.
Very good. Yeah, it's all about leverage, you know. I mean, why do people do things? Either to gain pleasure or to avoid pain, you know. And if the pain is not big enough, you have to apply some leverage, you know, and make it bigger, that you overstep this fear of, for example, getting on stage. And you are completely right. We've done so much in the past, but you always forget, you know, because we focus on the thing we want to achieve. And we don't remember all of our successes, you know. And I mean, being a seasoned entrepreneur, and both of us, I mean, we've done so many things, and we wouldn't be here, you know, if we wouldn't have learned from all our adventures and have done something right in the past, you know. And this is important, reflecting and understanding, okay, I mean, I've been there, I got a t-shirt, you know, I can do this as well.
Very well said.
Yeah, fear of getting on stage is one challenge, being introverted is one challenge. What are the other challenges people have when they come to you, when they ask you for help?
Absolutely, Sebastian. So I would say the biggest challenge that people come to me for, that they don't think they're coming to me for, right, is consistency. So a lot of them come with the fear. They go, oh my God, I can't be a great speaker. They don't have that belief. But honestly, the real challenge is they're just not working out. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? Like if you want to be more fit, you want to have more fitness, you want to lose some weight, what do? You eat the right foods, you eat less food, and you probably work out more often. If you do those three things for a month, you'll probably get really good at losing weight. You'll probably lose a pound or two just by doing nothing else and say, oh my God, this is working. Let me do more of this. So that's one piece. But we don't have that system in communication. What does going to the gym look like for working on your communication skills? And because that system isn't clear, and I'm obviously happy to share what that is today, like it's hard for people to actually even know what to practice. So for me, the greatest challenge by far is a lot of the ideas I'm going to share with you today, Sebastian, on what to actually do is really simple. It's just so simple, nobody does it.
Yeah. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, you know. I mean, this is a very simple statement, and it's true, you know. And as Jim Rohn said, it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. Yeah. So the steps you will share, as you said, are probably very easy, but yeah, it's also easy not to follow through, because there's always more important things in life, you know, which we are chasing, and then we forget the basic concept. So yeah, talking about this. So what are things I should put, or someone who wants to really become a world-class communicator, put in their training plan in terms of speaking and public speaking?
Yeah, excellent question, Sebastian. For me, communication is like juggling 18 balls at the same time. So one of those balls is body language, one of those balls is storytelling, one of them's eye contact, one is facial expressions. So for me, the question has been, what are the three easiest balls to juggle? Because if you can juggle those three balls in the air, you're going to be an exceptional communicator. You're going to build momentum. So now the next piece becomes, what are those three easy balls? That system we talked about. Number one is the random word exercise. Pick a random word, like xylophone, like hair, like chair, like home, and create random presentations out of thin air. And this serves two main purposes. Number one, it helps you deal with uncertainty. Life is filled with uncertainty, Sebastian. Podcast, you don't know what questions you're going to get asked. When you're on a sales call, you don't know what the prospect's going to ask you. When you're at an event and you meet somebody new, they'll ask you a weird question about your life. You're like, what are they asking? Yeah. So it helps you deal with uncertainty. And the second piece is, if you can make sense out of nonsense, you could make sense out of anything. If you can make sense out of nonsense, you could make sense out of anything, Sebastian. If you talk about avocado toast for 60 seconds, it's really easy to go back into your business, your career, and talk about your expertise. So what's the advice? The advice is 5 minutes every day. That's my going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way 1 apple a day keeps the doctor, I love that.
Yeah.
My version of it is 5 random word exercises. Pick phone, pick home, pick light bulb. Keeps Brenden away from knocking the door on your house.
Awesome. I mean, I have 2 kids, I can speak gibberish with them. They will have lots of fun, yeah.
You actually got the point perfectly, Sebastian. And that's what we recommend clients to do, or just people in general. Do it with your kids. Yeah. So many people come back to me and they say, Brenden, you changed my family life. And I'm looking at those like, what are you talking about? I'm a communication coach. And they say, no, you don't get it. When I come back home from work and my kids are always on the TV or they're watching video games playing video games, when I come to them with the random word exercise, to us, this is super scary. Like to adults, but to kids, this is super fun.
Yes,
exactly.
They love it.
So
I
very
will
well
try
said.
this tonight. Awesome. Okay, so that's the first exercise.
Of course. So the second exercise is the question drill. So the question drill is, we get asked questions all the time in our life, Sebastian, that we don't know the answer to. On a podcast, on a sales call, at work, at school. And a lot of us just aren't prepared for those questions. Let me give you a fun example with me. A few years ago when I started guesting on podcasts, I sucked. I was super bad at it, Sebastian. I remember some guy asked me, hey, Brenden, where does the fear of communication come from? And I look at the guy, Sebastian, I'm like, I don't know, man. Berlin, New York City, London, you tell me. I don't know where the fear comes from. So how did I fix this? Every single day for 5 minutes, I answered one question that I thought the world would ask me about my expertise, my products, or my services. So day 1 was, how do you overcome your fear of communication? Day 2 was, what tips do you have for introverts on speaking? Day 3 was, what's your vision for Master Talk? But if you spend 5 minutes every day, Sebastian, for a year answering these questions, you'll have answered 365 questions about your industry, and you'll be bulletproof.
Yeah, it's all about conditioning. Yeah, conditioning everything into your system, and repetition is the master of all skills. Huh? Practice. Great. So answering questions, speaking gibberish with your kids.
You're a great listener, Sebastian. Number 3 is so simple, nobody does it. Video messages. Just pick 3 people in your life, or even one person. Pick one person you like. Make it really simple. And send them a 20-second video message just telling them how much you appreciate having them in your life. And there's only one rule. You're not allowed to retake the video. If you just do that once a day for 30 days, you'll have sent 30 video messages, and you'll be so much better at presenting online.
I love video messages. It makes such a difference, you can share so much of your emotions, and you put another layer of communication in a video message. And practice. During the pandemic, I did a lot of video call. Like everyone, of course. And it was a fantastic practice, fantastic training. I remember the first video I created years ago took me ages, When I look at it now, it's embarrassing. But now I just switch on the camera and start speaking. And here we go. It's all about putting into your system. It's all about practicing. It's like, as you said, going to a gym on a regular basis, working out, putting things into practice, and then you will become better automatically. You mentioned Master Talk. Or is there any other important thing you want to share in terms of exercise before we move on to your Master Talk program?
Yeah, for sure, Sebastian. There's 2 quick things. The first one is that the only real tip that matters here, what's the number 1 thing people should do from this podcast? It's really simple, which is ball number 4. The best way to speak is to speak. Meaning, you could listen to me and you talk all day, but if you want to get better at communication, you actually got to speak. So what does that mean, Sebastian? What I encourage your audience to do is book 15 minutes every single day in your calendar, and just do these 3 exercises. Do the random word exercise for 5 minutes. Do 1 question and send 1 video. And if you just do that consistently enough, you'll get the results that you're looking for. It's just nobody does it. And I think that's the real challenge for most of us.
Most of us are so, in their daily work activities, there's so much happening. And if you don't put this in your calendar, things don't happen, You can have the best intention, but if you don't schedule it, don't block time for it, then the next important thing come up, and you will forget these exercises.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing. Good. So you mentioned Master Talk. What's that all about?
So Master Talk is two parts. So one is it's a media company where the goal of Master Talk is how do we provide free communication resources for the entire world for free. That's really the mission. That's why I started the channel. I didn't even know you can get paid for coaching until maybe 9 months into making videos. It was mostly just making free videos for people on Instagram, on YouTube, on different social media channels like LinkedIn to help them gain access to this free information that I didn't have access to when I started my communication journey. And the second part to that is Master Talk is a coaching business. So we train a lot of executives in the corporate world, entrepreneurs, to be exceptional communicators. We get rid of their ums and ahs, we make them smile more, we open their eyes more, we make them more expressive. And it's that private practice that funds the media company.
Oh.
So I coach a lot of people privately at the very highest level, and then I use the income that I make to continue making free resources for the world.
Going through this process, how long does it normally take for someone who's not an exceptional speaker, who really someone who did a few presentations, someone who's had a few speeches in front of his company maybe, to move into this top 1%, what you mentioned, what is a typical time frame for someone who really want to get to the top of this?
For sure, Sebastian, it's a great question. So here's the way I think about it. What does top 1% communicator in your industry means? That's the way I define it. Let's start there. So for me, in your industry is the key word here. So when I sell top 1% communicator, I don't mean top 1% communicator in the world. That's a very different outcome.
Sure.
I mean top 1% communicator in your specific niche. So if you're a plumber, it's not that hard to be a top 1% communicator in your industry. If you're an accountant, it's not that hard. Even in coaching, it's not that hard. There's a lot of people who make a ton of mistakes in our industry, which is the first part. Yeah. So now the second part is, what does top 1% mean? For me, it's quite simply, what are we willing to do that 99% of our industry are not willing to do?
Yeah.
Right? It's very simple. So let me give you an easy thought on this. The random word exercise. So if I asked you, Sebastian, just randomly, what percentage of your industry, and you won't, there's no right answer. I just want you to ballpark, because we're both in coaching, I believe, if I got it correctly. Yeah. So let's say in the coaching industry, let's take high performance coaching, executive coaching. Out of 100 people in our industry, how many of them do you think would do the random word exercise 100 times? Just do it. Not do it well. Just do the exercise 100 times in their lifetime. What percentage would you give?
I think this percentage is very, very low. Probably 1 digit. I mean, how many people really work on themselves? I mean, how many people are in personal development, in the world? I mean, it's a 1 digit percentage. It's a very few people really working on themselves, improving themselves, putting the effort into become better versions of themselves. So I also would say people doing this random word exercise, I don't know, 5%, 8%.
That's exactly
maximum.
Right, Sebastian. And that's assuming even if all of the room were coaches. Yeah. And we can assume like coaches are investing in themselves, they're training. Even most of those people, they don't even really focus on their communication that much. So let's take your number, which I had in my mind as 5 to 10%. Mm-hmm. Well, now where I get into is if you do it, how long does it take to do it 100 times? Well, not that long, because it takes a minute. So to do it once, so if you do it 5 minutes a day, in 3 weeks, you'll be done. So in 3 weeks, you'll be in the top 5 to 10% of people who practice that one exercise, right? But then if I change the question, I said 1,000 times, what about 1,000 random word exercises? Now the answer is probably more 0.5%. It's probably 1%. So now you're starting to get where I'm getting at here, Sebastian. The reason I'm the top guy in my industry is not because I'm special. It's because I've done the random word exercise 3,000 times, and I'm not exaggerating that number. So it's just, for me, it's all about like, what is the work ethic required to get to that result? So the simple answer now to your question becomes, Brenda, how long does it take to get a result? My simple answer to that is, how committed are you to getting the result? If you're hiring a high-level coach and you want to get there really quick, I can pretty much guarantee results within a few hours because you're super committed and you'll do like 50 random word exercises in a day.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of like, okay, if I'm average and I do this 5 minutes a day, how much time will it take? I'd probably say maybe a few weeks to get clear results.
It's with everything else in life. We have to put in the praxis. We have to put in the work, to get results. Things just don't happen, We have to make them happen. Yeah. I mean, this is the same with my clients. When they want to see results, they have to do the work. We can only advise them, we can guide them, we can give them the tools, but they have to practice and they have to do the exercises 1,000 times, ideally.
Absolutely.
You're working with executives, CEOs, any special industry, or is this just industry agnostic service?
For sure, Sebastian. So I'm industry agnostic. I'll work with any industry. But where I found the most success is definitely in two main niches. Technology executives has been a big one for us because a lot of them are really bad at speaking and they start off their career as engineers and product people. So when they get into management, they really want to work on their communication skills. So a lot of I'd say half of my clients are technology in the tech space. And then you'll have a mix. I've worked with CEOs of big companies, finance executives, but I'd say my second biggest niche is women executives in particular.
Very good. I mean, I agree in the tech industry. I mean, I have a tech background and I also work for a lot of tech executives and tech startups. And I often say, they don't speak English, even if they speak the language, but they are so focused on their product or service. They have so many features and very focused topics in their head. When they try to communicate this to the audience, they completely lose them, because they are so focused on their service that they really miss the connection to the audience, which is not into the topic, So what we often help is really streamlining the content, and streamlining the communication, make it much more easier for someone else to understand what you're trying to say, and I completely agree. And also for me, with a tech background, it took a while to make this leap, to speak, to run shows and to communicate really. But it's a very interesting audience, very interesting industry. There are a lot of great people out with a great product or service, and it's a great pleasure helping them,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the difference between online and presentation in a room, What would you say, teach your customers? What should they focus on when they are in an online meeting, for example?
So for me, there's three main differences between in person and online. So the first one is eye contact. When you're in person, you move your eyes across everybody in the room. But when you're online, whether you're speaking to 1 or 10,000 people, you want to look in one area, which is the camera lens. And that gives the illusion that you're looking at everybody directly. So that's difference number one. Difference number two is energy. Let's face it, Sebastian. If this was in person, I'd show up with a ton more energy, ton more magic, and it's a lot more accountable. Because if you're in person, you have to wake up in the morning, you have to take a shower. Whereas in online, you really don't have to do those things. People don't really notice. So it's hard to show up with the same level of energy. So what does the tip become? The tip becomes get better in person. Get better in person and bring as much of that energy as possible.
To your online presentations. Yeah.
Exactly. To the online presentation. That's two. And then finally, the last one is accessibility. So accessibility just means that when you're in person and you want feedback from your audience, there's zero friction. They're right in front of you.
Yeah.
Hey, Sebastian, what do you think I should do better? Blah, 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 blah. So you don't even need a Zoom call. They're right there. You just get lunch with them. But online, it's a lot more challenging. Because even if you're speaking to 100 people on a Zoom call, the second that Zoom call ends, everybody just disappears. So there's a ton more friction. So you actually have to have more offline conversations. You need to actually call people and get on Zoom calls with them to get feedback you need to make yourself better. So those are the main differences.
Interesting. I mean, I agree. I mean, for me, what I often observe is that people don't look at the camera. They look at the screen. Yeah, like now, if I look at the screen, I don't look at the camera. So you lose the connection. But it's very hard for people to remember that, and then you wonder why there's no match. And also, energy is such an important topic. I mean, I love, even in an online presentation, I try to put in as much as energy possible. We run events where we fade in music, to keep people awake. But I've been in many presentations where after 10 minutes you basically fall asleep. So I think if you do those two things right, look at the camera and bring energy around, it's 80% of the success. What's your long-term plan for your service? I mean, what's your mission?
Absolutely. So the way that I answer this question, Sebastian, is talking about Dale Carnegie, right? The author of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He's obviously changed a lot of people's lives in communication, public speaking, influence. But the challenge is he was born between 1888 and 1955, meaning that we don't have a lot of videos of him.
Outdated, yeah.
Yes. So let me change that a little bit. So it's not necessarily like the information is bad or anything. It's just that, because the concepts still apply today, but it's more in the sense of he was never on a podcast.
Well,
we never got to hear Dale Carnegie give a long interview. We never got to hear Dale Carnegie in his YouTube channel because he just wasn't born in this era of history. Whereas I'm very fortunate, I think all of us are, where we have an opportunity to record our knowledge in a way that where people who live long after we do can still listen to us and learn from us, especially in my industry, communication, where people can see me in a video, they can see me in a podcast, and I take that very seriously. So for me, the mission of my life, my coaching practice will grow, and it's growing, and I'm super grateful, and that's all awesome. But, for me, my end game is how do I become the Dale Carnegie of this industry, of this era, so that I can share everything for free, so that when I'm dead in like 70 years, hopefully I live longer, but I probably got like 60 or 70 years, that people can learn from me forever. And that's really my dream.
Leaving a legacy. Yeah. Love this. Hey, it's been amazing listening to your tips and your experience. And I'm sure many of our listeners will be able to take a lot of valuable insight out of this talk if they now listen to this conversation. I mean, we covered a lot of ground. What's the number one thing they should do right now after they realize, okay, I should double down on my communication skills. I really want to improve that. What should they do in your opinion?
Super simple, Sebastian. Book 15 minutes in your calendar every single day to do the easy threes. Random word exercise takes 5 minutes. Do this in your car with your kids, right? I like that you're already taking action on that, which is amazing, right? Walking the talk as a coach. So I love that. But the second one is question drills. Just take one question that you think somebody's going to ask you and just answer it every single day. Just one. That's it. And then the third piece is just send a video message today to somebody that you love and don't retake the video. What you make is what you send.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you just do that, I think you'll be amazing at communication.
We are often so focused on perfectionism, and trying to redo things 100 times. And often the first shot is the best one, And I love this. I love the video message concept. I mean, I already send video messages often to people, to my team, and to clients when I want to explain them something. Amazing tip. So simple tools out you can use. And answering questions about your product or service, and doing the random word exercise. 3 things, 15 minutes, put it in your calendar, and then let's see what happens in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. You got it.
Thank you so much, Brenden. Where can people reach you? Where's your preferred channel of communication?
Thanks for having me on the show. So 2 ways to keep in touch. The first one is the YouTube channel. Just go to Master Talk and one word. You'll have access to hundreds of free videos on how to communicate ideas effectively. And the second way to keep in touch is to join one of my free communication workshops over Zoom. It's absolutely free. I facilitate it myself. It's a 90-minute call, and it's a lot of fun. So even if you're a 5-year-old kid or if you're a big-time CEO, everybody comes to the call. It's a lot of fun. So if you want to register, go to rockstarcommunicator.com.
Rockstar Communicator. We all want to become rockstar communicators. Thanks, Brenden, for your time today. It was awesome speaking with you. And thanks for all the wisdom you shared, and looking forward to participate in one of your seminars. Go and check it out.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into the High Performance CEO Show. I'm your host, Sebastian Schieke, and it's been a pleasure serving you. Please subscribe to our show on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and create a bigger impact. Check out our website, sebastianschieke.com, for additional resources. Until next time, be bold, be exceptional, be outstanding, be a leader.